Ladies and gents, this is going to be a real quick episode of Sports Talk with DesPain, just to quickly break down today's games. But of course, I know a lot of y'all ain't going to really be watching this until um, the games conclude, most likely. If you do manage to get to this just before the kickoff, I appreciate you for even giving me the time. Um, because as I always tell people, life be life, and so I don't got the time sometimes to just pull up and do shit. But I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna make sure I do better, especially when football season comes back around. Basketball season gonna eventually take over all the way through. But again, I'm your host, Spain. Sports Talk with this Spain podcast, live in person. Generally and usually, I would have Coach JB with me for the Coach's Corner, but he is unavailable at the moment. But we may have a episode queued up for post game of both conference championship games. But before we even get into those championship games and my intake and my breakdowns and what I see and what I got, and I'll give you guys his predictions as well. There was some news in the NFL. I'm going to keep it real standard with basic with like the actual news with the coaching. As many of you know, there was about 10 coaching openings available. A few of them have been filled since then. I think the last time me and Coach JB recorded, Ron Harbaugh was one of the coaches that got hired to the New York Giants. But since then, the Atlanta Falcons have hired Kevin Stefanski, which kind of boiled up some smoke with Baker Mayfield, which is going to be exciting to see if Tampa continues to be competitive, how that division is going to look. Because Baker got that smoke with him. To this day, he said he hasn't heard or spoke to him since he got traded or let go. Then we also got Robert Saleh. He's going to be the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. I personally believe that's a pretty good hire for him, at least. I think it's always tough for a rookie head coach, and we can see it now with what's going on with the Jets. Like, it's not easy to go to New York, man. Aaron Glenn is trying to figure it out, and I think it's kind of unfair. Like, a lot of people are sitting there like, how come he's not fired, this and that? Like, you still got to give it a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think a lot of us people out here can go out and coach men, a 53-man roster, or better yet, in some cases, 60-plus men rosters. And then also on top of that, you have to manage and, keep things good with the morale amongst your coaches that you decide to hire. It's always a trial period, I should say. Aaron Glenn came from the tree of Dan Campbell. you know, and if you, it sucks that you have to compare him with like Ben Johnson, because Ben Johnson actually went to a much more fruitful situation, being that he has a top tier, or what could be a very, very top tier offense in Chicago, and they actually made it to a divisional round. So, but yeah, the Jets is like a dumpster fire. The ownership's dumpster fire. There's a lot of not good things going on with the Jets. So Robert Saleh getting his second chance over there in Tennessee, he's finally going to have a quarterback that he could properly get acclimated and groomed, unlike what he had prior to that. But it's not all his fault. That team he brought the swagger to that team in the Jets. So he's going to bring a lot of swagger to Tennessee. And sometimes with these coaching hires and some of these coordinator hires that we've been seeing, it does also attract free agents and potential scheme changes that will attract different type of players that usually wouldn't go to those franchises. So I think that was a pretty good hire by the Tennessee Titans. And then we also have Jeff Hafley being hired by the Miami Dolphins. They're looking for some type of toughness. Hafley was once a head coach of BC Eagles in college side, and he was the DC for my Green Bay Packers, of course. I think he's absolutely a leader of men. The numbers may not show it. Sometimes numbers can be skewed. I think a lot of people give way too much credit to a coordinator or head coach when a team performs. Sometimes the coordinator or coach just implements a scheme, or implements a playbook, or implements a type of morale, or type of they just bring something to the table where it makes you believe in yourself and you do your job. And once you do your job, that's all that matters. And in this day and age of sports, there's more player coaches than there is coaches that just coach. And when you do have a coach that kind of is a, tough ass, like he puts his best foot forward and tries to like run the organization as he should. Like you see that with Andy Reid. Andy Reid's actually a player's coach in my opinion, but because he lets his players be who they are, but he's not gonna be like a tough ass all the time. Sirianni, like a lot of these championship teams have that. Bill Belichick was not really much a player's coach. He'd be more willing to get rid of you if anything came down to it. But but with all that being said, I think Halfley going there, being that he's been a coach before and he also did a good job with the defense with Green Bay, even without no matter what the numbers look like, he did build up a culture over there, which will be somewhat lasting now that they have hired Jonathan Gannon, who's had done the same thing with Philly, even though some Philly fans may not feel that way. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if you could coordinate a defense to lead them to some type of success or even a championship, you're somebody. You know what I mean? It's not a fluke. Things don't just happen just to happen. There's plenty other DCs out there and offensive coordinators out there that don't have the same success as the next. Yes, talent plays a part, but you still, even when you have talent, and there's plenty of teams that have like a ample amount of talent, you still have to get them to play for you. So, with all that being said, congratulations to Jeff Halfley. That Miami situation is going to be a little different. I don't know if they're rebuilding. I don't know what they're going to be doing there with quarterback situation with Tua, but much deserved hiring for him. Jesse Minter is now the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not too big on that hire, and it could make it off as if I'm contradicting myself. But yes, he had coordinated a pretty good defense in I was about to say San Diego Chargers, but in the Los Angeles Chargers. But I don't know if that's what your franchise quarterback needs or wants. You know what I mean? So um, we'll see. The Baltimore usually is not bad at making those type of decisions, but then again, they've only had three head coaches since they've joined the league in '96. So we don't know what this is going to look like for Baltimore and Lamar's future, but it clearly is showing that they are focused on being a very much of a defensive oriented team, getting back to the basics of what that team's identity was from all the way back to when they drafted Ray Lewis in '95, '96. We shall see how that goes. I mean, here's the thing: when you get your head coach and getting hired, hirings, you got to be happy for those guys because they're the unfortunate thing is they're at some point going to get fired. But you got to build them up and congratulate them for making the leap because going from coordinator to man like a head coach is not easy, and we as people in the real world, we should see it as something good too because a lot of us would like to be in the higher up position, get more money, more responsibility, more power, more opportunity for yourself and your family to be settled up and good. You know what I'm saying? So aside from that, this was not a hire, but the Bills did fire Sean McDermott. A lot of folks are like perplexed about this, but I can tell you what, I'm sure I had some podcast episodes where I thought I saw where I spoke as if I seen the writings on the wall. It was Super Bowl bust for him, no matter how you looked at it, unless there was a situation where the Chiefs or the Bengals or the Ravens went crazy and went 15 and or was it 16-1 or whatever the case may be, and they just was unbeatable and you just couldn't beat them again. Sure, but the playing field was evened out or lesser. However you want to look at Denver or however you want to look at New England and all these other teams, it was lesser because you're not going against the top four, and he's in Josh Allen's amongst the top four. But Sean McDermott is fired. Whatever the Bills decide to do after that, I don't know if it's going to be it might be a band-aid just to be set up for the next possible situation with a hiring. We all know Mike Tomlin has stepped down as head coach of the Steelers. Clearly, he hasn't looked around, nor has teams tried to get him because that leads to like we're talking about compensations like picks and stuff. I'm sure the Bills probably dip their toe in that water and thinking that there's a possibility, but if you're a team that's trying to build a winning organization and getting weapons for your quarterback, you probably do don't want to invest your future on a head coach that just decided to step down. He didn't get fired. He decided to step down. So, um, but Sean McDermott, I think maybe not even this year, but next year he will get a chance somewhere else. He led a winning culture in Buffalo. He may have not gone to a Super Bowl. He may have not won one. He went to AFC championships. He's gone mano a mano with Andy Reid. It's not easy, man. Like I know we get this, we see it, we see like the Andy Reids and the Bills of the worlds that just continuously and constantly make it to those stages, and we like compare and like whatever. But those are like the one percenters that are doing their thing. It's not easy. It's not gonna happen. As like even me being a Packers fan, like Matt LaFleur has been to multiple NFC Championship games, never got over the hump with a Hall of Fame quarterback, and the Packers decided to extend him. You know what I'm saying? Because it's cheap, as they would always say, it's cheaper to keep her. And I'm not referring them as women, but it's cheaper to keep them. It is. What's the point of like moving on? Like look at the coaching field right now. A lot of coordinators are deciding to stay where they are or just not go and get interviewed, or former head coaches are like not being considered. But it's hard. It's not easy out there to be an organization and just take a chance and just whatever. Like sometimes you're better off just keeping what you got. The culture's there. You're paying a player, $500 million to be your franchise guy, and you don't think that that person has a say. You should look at it as if they do. Um, and you know, but we've learned a lot about some franchises. The Baltimore owner and the Bills owner have shown themselves to who they are after they let go of long term coaches that they've kept around. So damn if you do, damn if you don't. When you bring a great culture and success to a franchise. But last but not least, and to quote JB, he said it's mad funny when you are replacing an above average mic with a for above average mic. So as many of you already seen yesterday, I believe it was, Mike McCarthy got hired as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, his hometown team. He grew up rooting for the Steelers. I personally think it's a pretty solid hire. That's a franchise that doesn't like a lot of turnaround. McCarthy has had long stints with the Packers. He went the whole 5 years of his contract with Dallas. So it's not like he is a one and done. I mean, it looks as if in the grand scheme of things, it could be. You know what I'm saying? Just because of you're picking up big shoes. Mike Tomlin been there for a long time, a lot of success, never lost, had a losing season. So if McCarthy does have a losing season, then those rumblings are going to happen. But I think he's a good hire, and if anything, that's a team that just likes to have veterans, and he coaches veterans pretty well. So I would assume someone like Aaron Rodgers would reconsider another year over there if he doesn't want to retire. Those are all the updates on the head coaches. But again, today is Championship Sunday. Two conference championship games, as you all may already know. The Patriots and the Denver Broncos are going to play in Denver at 3 p.m. I'm recording right now just a couple hours before the kickoff, and we all know, the Patriots have won their first two home games. The Broncos had a bye week, and then they won in overtime against the Bills. But it was unfortunate that they went to overtime because that led to an injury to their starting quarterback, Bo Nix. Now they have Jarrett Stidham as their quarterback for this game. And we also have a rematch part trois of the Seattle Seahawks hosting the Los Angeles Rams, which is another game that I'm actually excited way more about that game, with all due respect to the AFC teams, only because these are two of the better teams in the NFL, the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams. Although the Patriots do have who could be potentially the MVP of the NFL, Matthew Stafford being the Grizzly veteran in the NFL, who is also a potential MVP, and then the Seattle Seahawks, being coming out of nowhere, being a number one seed, having one of the best defenses in the NFL, all those good things. So there's a lot of great narratives and storylines for that particular game. And I have a weird feeling we're going to have one of those all-timers like we usually had in the past with those Seattle teams this evening. But before we get there, I'm going to start off with the conference championship game. I'm just going to go over like both sides of what I see and what I think what's gonna happen here. And then I'm gonna give y'all my predictions, and I'm gonna also give you what Coach JB's prediction was. I'll give you a total. He doesn't do totals, but I'll give you a total. As many of you already know, the line started at -4.5. So for all my bettors out there who are focused on that in particular, that is technically the largest. Basically, the Patriots are the biggest favorites of all time in a conference championship game. And that gives you a lot of perspective right there of how it swung with Bo Nix being out and Stidham stepping in. Initially, the line was at -1.5. Denver, as they won their game in the hypothetical line, but once Bo Nix got hurt and the Patriots were confirmed as the opponent, it was 4.5, and it went up to 5.5 at one point during the week. But to this afternoon, we're at -3.5, which is pretty normal. That's like the standard, like, home, I wouldn't say the standard home dog. Usually if you're a home dog, you want to be at least close to a pick 'em. But basically, Vegas, the public, they truly believe the Patriots could win pretty handily, at least by a touchdown or so, or two field goals in this game. So a few things I want to talk about in this game without getting too carried over with all two types of details. Football is a real standard basic game to me. Uh, it's not as crazy as, it's been a long week. A lot of national media, sports, local, regional radio, whether it be Denver or New England, they're trying to they're trying to figure it out to make it defend their arguments, right? As you should, especially fans, especially like if I'm a fan of the Broncos, I'm looking for any kind of silver lining here about like why Stidham would work here. If I'm the fan of the Patriots, I'm not too worried about this game per se, and I'm already booking my ticket to Santa Clara, right? But a couple things that can skew this game in either way. And then I'll get to my prediction. For New England, for them to actually win this game today, they cannot start the same way they started against the last two teams that they played. And those other two teams had pretty good damn good defenses. And now they're playing another pretty damn good defense. And however people want to perceive the Denver Broncos and how they performed down the stretch or against better offenses or whatever, doesn't matter. Sometimes giving up the points doesn't give you the same storyline at the end of the day. Is what did you do to get your offense back on the field? You could have given up 30 points, but you might have got 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. You may have scored a touchdown on defense, and the game got close. You know what I mean? So with all that being said, to go out your way and say, oh, well, they gave up 30 points to this team, 30 points to that team, it makes you feel better, right? But you don't want to get into that point. But I don't think Denver is in the place to be doing that in this game. So, but with all that being said, New England is also not in the place to be sitting there playing, with their food. Like if it's the first half, first quarter, the scripted play, you better score. And I'm not talking about a 3 point. I'm not talking about a field goal. I'm talking about scoring a touchdown. You got to put your foot on their neck as soon as you get out there. You want to make it so that your defense, who's been playing lights out, continues to play lights out going forward. No ands or buts about it, right? So Drake May, I don't think he's had the greatest postseason. He's had some flashes in the pan, especially in the second half. Given taking what's given to him, like sealing the deal with some touchdown passes, like those two games, the last touchdowns of the games was in his hands. And, you could definitely give him a lot of grace and, a lot of positive, it's a positive thing to see that a young quarterback can do that and kind of seal the deal. Cause, the Texans game, they were only up by 5 with like halfway through the fourth. And they turned the Texans over, 5 times. There's no reason you should be only up by 5 and you turn the team over 5 times, right? And one of those turnovers led to a touchdown. So if it wasn't for that touchdown, you might have been down by 2. You know what I mean? So that's one. And then even in the Chargers game, the Chargers, shit their pants and they didn't do what they had to do. And instead of them, you know what I'm saying? Instead of them scoring at the 1 yard line after they got a turnover off of Drake May in the first half, they gave up the ball, and then the Patriots drove the field, and that was one of their field goals or touchdown. I think it was one of their field goals that led to a 9-3 halftime lead or some crap like that, and they won only 16-3. You know what I'm saying? So first half pace has to be up. Josh McDaniels has to put him in a better position. We've seen Stevenson really take over as that RB1. And as I've been saying before, I don't really believe this whole Drake May doesn't have weapons. Like Kayshon Boutte has been pretty damn clutch. You have Stephon Diggs. He's a pros. a finalist for comeback player of the year. You have a rookie running back who's a finalist for offensive rookie of the year. Like you have a quarterback that's a potential MVP. Like, and you have a coach that's a potential coach of the year. So it's like you can't say you ain't got enough. You got a lot. It's just that nobody, and it's not the Patriots' fault. They didn't. They played the record that the schedule that's been given to them. But you can't be upset because the same thing I've been hearing it all week. Like the same thing people were saying about Denver Broncos out here. Like who have they played? That's the same way people talk about the Patriots. So you call a spade a spade. It is what it is. Y'all both teams played the schedule that were given to them, but one team was, took more care of business than the other. That's just what it was at the end of the day. But yeah, the Patriots have to start fast. If they're truly the juggernaut of offense with that MVP quarterback that they are, they shouldn't have any issues against this defense, even if this defense is a top three defense in the NFL, top five defense. And also, the left side of the line has to protect better. You know what I'm saying? And part of it too is that Drake May does hold the ball a little longer than most quarterbacks because he's trying to look for that downfield play. But Campbell, Wilson, those guys on the left side, the interior guys, they just got to do a better job to protect them. Because when you're a quarterback that's looking for those big plays down the field, you need to be able to be back there for a little bit. So that'll be the keys to success for the Patriots. They just need to start fast, no turnovers, or win the turnover battle. Their O line needs to play up to par. And on the other side for Denver, their keys to success is that they do have the better offensive line out of the AFC teams that were still playing. Like a lot of us already knew Houston's offensive line was not good. And a lot of us already knew that the Chargers, who lost two of their all pro tackles, and then they had another guard that they signed big money for who couldn't make the game. They were down to like a bunch of nobodies, and Justin Herbert is like running for his life because he doesn't want to get hurt because he's been getting banged up all year. I think it was the most sacked quarterback in the league. That offensive line for Denver is pretty damn good. So if you are a Denver Bronco fan or in that media, yeah, I would feel kind of confident and comfortable with Stidham being back there because he probably won't get hit as much. And he probably wouldn't be running around like Bo Nix does. But that, with that being said, they also can't lose that turnover battle because the New England Patriots have been kicking some ass out here. Like they absolutely have been doing their job every down on the line of scrimmage with their D line and bringing pressure. But also Denver, you got playmakers, the Mims of the world, the Cortland Suttons, Harvey, who was a former receiver. You need to get him more touches. Evan Ingram, you paid him to be your tight end one. You got to get him involved. Like anybody who's available needs to be available and running their routes correctly. Because this is the type of game where you can't have your guys just doing whatever they want. They have to run their routes correctly. They have to do what the play says. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. Their defense, on the other hand, they need to bring the pressure. If you know that you are the better defensive line, you need to prove it. These are the type of the games that you want to prove that, right? And the Patriots are not susceptible to turnovers. They will turn the ball over. They will find a way. Like they have. You know what I'm saying? Drake May has thrown at least one interception each game. He has at least 6 fumbles, with 4 of them being lost or 3 of them being lost. So it will get on the ground, and you have the advantage. You're at home. If your crowd is as who we think they are, it'll be loud in there. It'll be tough for that young quarterback to perform and do what he has to do. So as a defense, you got to do what you do. And when it's money downs, get to the money. You feel me? And then but I think the key to their defense is they have to stop the run. What's been working for New England this whole postseason so far is that their D line has been dominating other teams' offensive lines, especially with Milton Williams out there being their big free agent acquisition. They're going to be missing Harold Landry this game, but he's more of a pass rush specialist. But they got plenty of guys out there to do what they got to do. So their D line's been dominated, and then on the other side of the ball, on their offensive line, they haven't been doing too well. All right. So if I'm Denver, you got to be feeling real good about how you can take advantage of things, especially when you're at home. If their offensive line is going to be struggling as they've been, you shouldn't have any issues on that defense to get to the quarterback. On the other end, it's your home. It's your backup quarterback. It should be quieter than you could hear a mouse take a shit. You shouldn't have any issues getting plays off. You shouldn't be able having issues to getting down the field if you play the game that Sean Payton has scripted for you. With that being said, I've been picking New England most of the postseason already. I've already been telling people book your tickets, man. It's like I don't really feel comfortable with saying like Stidham and the Broncos will take care of business and win this. But we've seen crazier things in the NFL, man. Like we've seen crazier things. Like I said, the line started at 4.5. It went down to 3.5. That means people are putting money into the Denver Broncos right now. They're seeing there's a possibility they could cover this game. And I could see it too. I could see them covering. And that's when where I'm leaning. I'm leaning to them covering this game, and I'm leaning towards the Patriots winning by about 3 points. I mean, it's gonna be a close game, low scoring game. It's going to be your typical Broncos Patriots game. The Patriots have this is like a house of horrors for them. So maybe this is a new change of the guards for them right now. And it's only because Bo Nix is not playing. It's not about the fact that I think New England's just a better team. I think Denver overall is the better team. But when you're losing your quarterback and it's like a last minute thing where you have to get this backup who's been with the organization for the last couple years and who's been practicing, he knows the playbook. I'm pretty certain of it. And they've been able to practice since what Sunday. They've been able to start game planning for this since Sunday because the game was on a Saturday. So it's not like he didn't get a full week of preparation. To be a quarterback, you have to be pretty knowledgeable what you're doing out there. But it's just so hard for me to sit there and be like, yeah, I think it's Denver's gonna squeak it out. Like they would have to. There's some miracles that need to be happening. The home field, being that they got the home field, it has to be in their advantage. And you gotta hope that Drake May doesn't play up to the caliber that he's been playing most of the year, or else it's gonna be just a grinded out game. In my opinion, like, the Patriots definitely don't want it to be a super grinded out game. I'm talking about like the Patriots should not want this game to be where it's 10-9 Denver in the middle of the fourth quarter. They got the ball. Like, no, you want to be the front running team you've been all year. Take that 17-3 lead all the way through, and then if Denver decides to make a run, or in you know they kick a couple field goals and get a touchdown and field goal, and now it's like what 17-16, whatever case may be, or 17-13. Excuse my math. Then the Patriots would cover the new line. The Broncos would cover the opening line. So to me, it's going to be a low scoring game. It comes down to who's going to be protecting the ball. I've said it all postseason. Comes down to those two quarterbacks, and the Patriots absolutely have the advantage at quarterback this time around, and they did it in the last two games. I didn't expect CJ Stroud to be playing the way he did, and I don't really think it was a lot about the Patriots team. I think it was a lot about him and his mental, and I think the Chargers just had a horrible game plan after their first quarter. Give me the Pats. Like I said, 20-17. That would be my score for the Patriots game. Moving forward, we have at 6:30, the Seahawks are hosting the Rams. I'm excited about this game because I think this is the game of the week. This is the game of the year. It might be better than the Super Bowl, just because depending on who goes and plays in that Super Bowl, whether it be the Patriots versus these two teams, I think that's a better story. But if the Patriots were to somehow lose, I don't know if a lot of people want to see Stidham and the Broncos facing one of these two teams. It will be like a rematch, potential rematch of the Super Bowl um, of a few years ago, where the Seahawks just dominated the Denver Broncos, or if it was the Rams in Denver. I mean, Denver won that game, but that was a snooze fest too because it was a mainly defensive oriented win for Denver at that time. But with all that said, with this being part three of the rivalry, I'm leaning Rams here. The story is there, man. Like Matthew Stafford for a third time. Like now he's not really too far from home. You know what I'm saying? He went to an out like the thing the Rams are doing right now is they're going against the numbers right now. People have shown the numbers like how the indoor dome team do not usually win these type of games outdoors. The last time Seattle and the Rams played, uh, other than the fact that Sam Darnold had a better second half, like they needed some miracles. They had that I think it was a punt return that got returned for a touchdown that led to them getting closer in the game. And it was like weird backward pass touchdown situation. And they needed a 2-point conversion to end it in, I think it was overtime. So it's like Listen, Seattle needed a lot of miracles on their own just to beat the Rams, and the Rams didn't even have Devontae Adams in that game. And I'm not saying Devontae Adams like moves the needle a lot, being that he doesn't get a lot of the attention as Puka does, like in between the 20s. But when he's in the red zone, he's obviously one of your biggest factors, and they play a lot of 13 personnel as well. So if the Rams keep it real, you know, down to the basics, and I know McVay is so good as a play caller, he will dumb it down even for a Hall of Fame as quarterback. He's like, he'll make it be like, yo, I want you to still throw it 40 times, but we're gonna run the ball 40 times. If he can, he will. And if for Seattle, being that they're a very good run defense, but that doesn't just because your run defense is good doesn't mean you as an offense have to stay away from that run defense, you know, from your game plan. Like you gotta implement that stuff. It's just like playing basketball, and you're going against a team that has a good paint defender. Doesn't mean you don't go to the paint. Get them in foul trouble. You know what I'm saying? Or force your will. Because once they start collapsing, they notice that you're doing a lot, me crossing sports right now, kick it out and shoot a three. In football, you got to keep them honest. You got to keep running that rock because once that time, and Stafford is one of the best in the league when it comes to play action. Once you hit that play action pass, that's how you get a good defense to be on their heels. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, the keys to victory for the Rams is, as I was saying, like sticking to the game plan, running the ball, get Corum and Williams involved as much as possible in this game. The 13 personnel, use it. When you're going against a front that aggressive like Seattle is, when you have your three tight ends and your five linemen, now it's 8 against 7. So if you're going to run the ball, you have the advantage. And then if a DB decides to over pursue and miss their assignment, you're looking at big gains, right? Or you could play off that and do play action, and there's a couple of your tight ends down the field wide open. And we've seen this already again in these Rams Seattle games. And the other key of victory is Matthew Stafford hasn't really played the best football in this postseason, but he has had some really good drives to end games. And he's been doing a good job of not turning the ball over. Every quarterback has an opportunity to throw a pick. Sometimes it bounces a different way or is tipped the wrong way. Listen, nobody's perfect in the NFL. I saw a stat today, the other day, Brady, when Brady was playing, it was a year that Brady and Rodgers were in the same postseason, and Brady was still in New England. He won the Super Bowl with still having a stat line where he had only 3 touchdown passes and 6 interceptions. He still won the Super Bowl. I think that was the Rams Super Bowl, the last one the Patriots won. And then Rodgers in that same year had like one game where he went crazy for 4 touchdown passes, and the Packers still eventually found a way to lose. Is it be like that? I don't know how to explain it. You know what I'm saying? But that's just football. It's a team sport at the end of the day. We just glorify the quarterback because they touch the ball a lot. But sometimes it comes down to them when it comes to a losing situation. But it's not always the quarterback's fault. You know what I'm saying? Tip passes happen. Guys don't run the right route, stuff like that. So either way, those are a couple of my keys of victory. But also their defensive backfield needs to not get lost out there against JSN, against Rashid Shaheed, even Kenneth Walker, the third coming out the backfield. They got a couple good tight ends, AJ Barner and all that. Like, listen, if I'm the Rams, first and foremost, Jared Verse, show me something. Show up, man. They need you. They need you. Because the Seattle Seahawks, one thing I know is that their offensive line is kind of beat up. So they need you, man. You got to step up and do what you got to do. Sam Darnold barely been throwing the ball. I don't know about this week. I haven't really heard a lot of reports about whether or not he was practicing full or whatnot. If he's taking that shot just to keep those obliques from bothering him from moving, that means he's going to still feel a little bit timid. I've had pulled my obliques before. It's not a good feeling. And if he tore his oblique, he's a goddamn warrior. That is not easy. But if I'm the Rams, I'm bringing the heat. I'm making sure my DBs are not falling asleep back there and just take care of business, man. Like this is like Rams have done this before. This is not you were there not too long ago. Should have never lost that game. And that game by itself, and I think they lost another game, led to them not being number one seed. Seattle, keys to victory there. Get the ball in Kenneth Walker's hands. He does pretty well against the Rams. He does. JSN, got to keep him active. I believe in that same Seattle game, he went the first half with 0 catches. Can't happen in this game. This is the playoffs. We cannot allow that to happen. And man, this could be Cooper Cup revenge game. He had a hell of a game last week. This could be a Cooper Cup revenge game. So listen, mistake free. Your defense is already pretty damn good, pretty elite. The stay healthy. You're at home. This is another situation where the number one seed's at home. You got the 12 behind you. There should be no reason why Matthew Stafford comes into Seattle feeling comfortable. So if I'm Seattle, I'm making it very uncomfortable for Matthew Stafford. I'm keeping it real comfortable for my quarterback getting hit, cut off half the playbook and keep it real basic. So he's not doing too much, even though he looked pretty good, whether he was drugged up or not. He looked pretty good last week for the most part, but Darnold is injury prone. Not injury prone, excuse me, turnover prone. I believe he has 6 interceptions thrown to the Rams already this season. If that's the same Sam Darnold we've seen in the regular season against the Rams, it's going to be a long night for the Seattle Seahawks. Not to say that they won't be able to score, but they don't want to be coming from behind against the Rams because the Rams have been gutting out games these last 2 games, and they've played the most games out of the two so far. Because Seattle, I believe, had the bye week. Yeah, they did play the Sunday night football game against the Niners, but that was like a barn burner. Like, who cares? Like, I think they took guys out at the end of the game. But nonetheless, that's the keys to victory for Seattle. Get your weapons going, man. Like, don't take it out of their hands. Like, the defense is gonna do what they do. But we all know, and a lot of people don't realize that the more you get out of the field on 3-and-outs and all that crap, you just making it harder for your defense to keep up. And some defenses are pretty resilient, and they can find a way. But it adds up. We've seen it in the New England game against Houston. Houston defense, even though they did give up 3 touchdown passes to May, it was inevitable. They were on the field a lot. Their freaking quarterback was threw 4 interceptions the first half. It's inevitable. Like, you can't. It's hard to sustain success throughout a game if the other side of the field is not doing its job, and that same goes for special teams. So with that being said, I'm leaning the Rams. Like I said, I think this is going to also be one of those high-scoring games that we are accustomed to with these two teams, especially late of the last time they played. But give me the Rams 30-28. I'll take the Rams 31-28. Coach JB also chose the Rams in this game. And I forgot to tell y'all, he also chose New England as well. He says he thinks that they're going to not lose. I don't know if he's truly comfortable to say that they're going to win, but he's choosing them to not lose, just to not jinx it. But he also says he's picking the Rams to win, but it's going to be like a shootout. So with that being said, it looks like me and Coach JB are kind of aligned on the same decision here. So we're anticipating and expecting in 2 weeks from today a matchup for the third time of the Patriots versus the Rams in Santa Clara. And if that's the case, that'll be a fun one to watch, especially bringing back the whole Boston LA rivalry, whatever, however you want to look at it. But I think that's going to be great for the NFL, seeing the two potential favorites. Well, they are the favorites, but the two most likely winners of the MVP award, Matthew Stafford and Drake May, in the biggest stage of the NFL. But till next time, I appreciate everybody for even giving me a chance to speak and talk, and always being in the forefront of watching and listening to me blabber about football, whether you disagree or agree with whatever I say. I'm not doing this to get people to agree with me. I don't do this for hot takes. This is what's been bubbling through my mind throughout the week. I might have had more to say, but today, this is all I got for you. But join us again later on, maybe this evening or tomorrow, with another episode of the post-game reactions to both championship games. But till next time, salute everybody.